Hi, and welcome to Books and Beyond. I'm your host, Jimmy Bennett. Usually my show is about helping people personify their aspirations. But in this COVID crisis, I've kind of taken a different swing, another tack. And we're doing shows that try to help you deal with it or understand what's going on around you. Today, I have a very close friend of mine, somebody I've known for many, many years, John Roy, who is a teacher. And we're going to talk about distance learning and some of the challenges now facing our educational system. How's that sound, JR?
Good, man. Yeah.
So tell everybody, where do you work, JR, and what do you do?
Okay, I work for New Haven Public Schools. I work at the Sound School Aquaculture Center. We are a regional vocational agriculture center. 50% of our students come from New Haven proper. The other 50% come from 25 different sending districts. Our student body is about 300, and we are the largest comprehensive vocational agricultural center in the world. So when the kids come to school, there are other ag centers where the kids move in and out, go back to sending districts, that type of thing. Our kids come and stay with us for the entire day, so they not only get their vocational agriculture experience, but they also get their regular high school educational classes. We're kind of unique. I teach senior finfish and shellfish production. We have a state-of-the-art wet lab that's about 5,000 square feet. I have a greenhouse on top of that. That's another 2,500 square feet. I have roughly 18,000 gallons of water working in different systems, and we are capable of doing salt water or fresh water, warm water or cold water. Consequently, we have everything from cold water, fresh species like brown trout to corals. Each year we have a lobster hatchery, we have an oyster hatchery, and this year we brought in a couple of real cool things. We brought cobia in and red snapper, both from the University of Miami. We also have some some barramundi in-house that are roughly 10 kilos, 23 pounds, that we've been growing for several years. So there's a lot of neat stuff. And the lab, I have a couple of lab assistants that help me run it, and they are actually tending to it right now. They're two of the very few people allowed in the school. They're keeping the fish alive and the system's running, but normally about 90% of the work is done by the kids.
Wow. So now, I don't have any children in school right now. My boys are grown, but I don't really tell me how the distance learning works now.
Well, we're still figuring that out, right? So we went home about 6 weeks ago. When the teachers went home from New Haven, we posted a couple weeks worth of lesson plans online for the kids to work with. And now you have to remember that New Haven, even though I work for a relatively small school there, New Haven has over 2,000 teachers and over 20,000 students.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very, very large district. And we are an urban school district, so we have full range, full spectrum. We have some students who come from affluent areas, and then we have some students that come from very, very poor socioeconomic backgrounds. So one of the things that the school has been trying to do, not just the school, but the entire system, they've been trying to get Chromebooks out to all the kids. So as of 2 weeks ago, they had gotten 8,000 Chromebooks out. And they're still trying to get more out. They're trying to make sure that every kid has the capacity to connect with school. There are so we went home for 2 weeks, and when we came back up, we we're asked to use Google Classroom, which is a virtual classroom. It allows you to post assignments. I'm trying to think what it would be like as far as social media type things. It's not really like Facebook, but some of the aspects are you can put posts out there, you can post assignments out there, and you also have the capacity through Google Meet where you can actually see your kids. So my school, we actually have classes 4 out of the 5 days a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, the kids can typically come into classrooms with the teachers to either do lessons or touch base or check over work or ask questions about things that they're doing. And then on Wednesday we have office hours, and we are available for one-on-one interactions with the students if they need support that way. We take attendance 4 days a week, but attendance is only to still try and figure out who needs help with the technology or getting in touch with the school or the teachers. And attendance is very different now. It's the student doesn't actually have to come into the classroom. If I receive an email from the student, if I receive work turned in Google Classroom, or if one of the students joins in a Google Meet, all three of those are considered attendance. So sometimes I'll have a student that's busy and I'll just get a one-line email checking in, all good, and that's good for us. So it's become very, very different.
Right. Do you have multiple classes during your classroom days?
Yes.
So you have to do the lesson plan and you give a lecture or talk about what you want to talk about multiple times during the day?
Yes.
Like you would in a regular school year?
Yep. My classes are actually, because it's the senior strand of aquaculture, my classes are actually double class periods. So during the year, I teach 2 credit courses. So I have two credit courses that I'm responsible for. I, of course, get my prep period, but I'm also given an extra period for duties that are associated with running and facilitating the use of the laboratory.
Right. So I know that you told me earlier, do you mostly do seniors?
Yes. So about I taught one group of juniors this year, which was actually an extra double period because of a scheduling issue. They weren't going to get access to the lab, so I picked them up. But for juniors, it's only a half-year class. So normally my students are all seniors.
Right. So now that's got to be very challenging in a lot of ways for the fact that it's their last semester of school. I know that you usually do a lot of lab work this time of year, don't you?
Correct. Typically, we do. We're closing out the capstone projects for the kids, which is a year-long laboratory-based project. We also, I typically take for a senior trip. This will be the first time in 16 years I haven't brought a group to Bermuda. They're going to miss prom. They're going to miss probably graduation. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And they are, they're sad, they're lonely, they're angry because, and one of them put it the other day, I feel like I've been robbed. And so many people tell them, oh, it'll pass and you'll get over it. And it's not really going to ever pass for them because they're going to be known as the Corona kids forever.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've seen some movements going on about perhaps doing graduation virtual graduations, or maybe even if things ease up enough to have some social distancing, outdoor gatherings, things like that. Has anything come your way about that yet, or?
Actually, we had a meeting with the seniors just before I got on here with you, and what we told them is when it becomes possible or feasible for us to get together, We would like to have some event to celebrate their graduation. I think, there's a lot to be said for bringing the kids into, we have outdoor graduations, but bringing them down to the tent in their caps and gowns and walking them down the street and having them have their ceremony right there on the water. And I believe a lot of them would actually like to have the ceremony if it's possible. So
That'd be nice.
we're hoping to be able to put something together in June where we could do something
Right.
along those lines. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. I mean, it is. You think about all the things that you're right. They're going to miss all this. They're never. You're not going to get it back. Next year is another year, and
Right.
they'll either be moving on in their lives, or
Oh, they'll be moving on one way or the other. Yeah.
right. So it's funny, those memories that we have. They're not going to. I
Right.
hope that. I hope we can do something for them. I mean, at least I think that people are trying to support them, and
Correct.
hope everything goes all right.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to do some. We'll do some. Their graduation date is for New Haven Public Schools is June 22nd. Now we're not thinking that we're going to be able to have a graduation then, but we're hoping late July, early August we could have some type of ceremony. But we'll figure out something to celebrate their graduation for them around the 22nd of June. It's hard for them because they're very much into as we all are as seniors in high school, hanging out with your friends. So
Yeah.
not being able to be in the same room at graduation time, or it's just it's truly difficult. It's challenging.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I hate to think it, but the truth is, I think that if I was a senior now in high school, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could actually quarantine myself or adhere to any kind of social distancing.
So we talk to them all the time about that, about them staying safe and being smart. And a large number of them are. And a lot of that has to do with parents putting their foot down and saying, it is not, you can't do it. I have some of my students' parents are in the medical community, nurses or doctors or EMTs. And they are adamant with their children that they are frontline, and should infection come into their house, they don't want to spread it to anybody that they care about. So, and the kids have taken that to heart. They're like, my dad works as a nurse at Yale, and I can't go anywhere. So,
right.
They're understanding that part.
Well, that's like I said, it's in a lot of ways it's easier for us as adults. Some of us that aren't home, but we, I don't know. When you get older, you find that you can do less, get away with it. It must be very, very hard on that. And so how about like graduating the kids, and I mean just grade wise, and what kind of system are you guys using for that?
So right now, New Haven, and I can't speak for all the schools in the state because I don't know.
Yeah.
But New Haven is on very different than we've ever been. So we're posting assignments, and the students are turning in assignments, and we're accepting assignments as basically either completed or not. There's no penalty for late work being turned in. And that's a good thing for the vast majority of the kids, but there are some kids out there who are getting more than their share of video games and that type of thing.
Yeah.
They're dragging on what they should be turning in. The kids are also saying they're having a difficult time staying engaged and being focused, which you can understand. Scary thing is we don't know how long Corona is going to last. We don't know if it's going to be one wave or two waves like the 1918 issues were. So some of these kids, many of my kids are going on to different forms of post-secondary education, either 2 or 4 year schools. they may start school normally in the fall, but then be distanced again, or they may actually start virtually in the fall. So my message to them is develop your skill set for distance learning, because education's not going to stop. Paul White, one of the assistant superintendents down in New Haven, put it really directly. He said next year the kindergartners are coming, so the kids aren't going to stop coming. We got to keep figuring out how to educate them, whether they're in the classroom or they're at home.
Right. It is while you knew me back in high school, it was hard for me to focus when I had a teacher in my face.
Right.
So I don't even know how I'd be able to, or how I would focus on doing my work if, somebody wasn't standing over my shoulder.
Correct. So it's very, very different and very, very difficult. And some of the students have adapted rapidly and are turning things in on time or even ahead, while other kids that were very much learners who had a lot of ability and were always spot on with deadlines and things while we were in class are actually trailing where they should be right now.
That's I know I said this to you before. It would seem to me that the kids that really wanted to learn are going to learn. The ones that didn't really care aren't really going to care. But it's still it's necessary. They need their education. They need to finish this. And have anybody talked about what might happen if you have to start this up in the fall?
Only nobody wants to believe we're going to have to start this way in the fall. So you got to remember that we went home knowing these kids. We had been with them for 8 months. To start a class in the fall with kids that you have never met, if you think it's strange now, it's going to be truly, truly different when you have a class of children you've never met, and your first interactions are all virtual. The good news is they will have had a few months behind them of virtual, so they'll have a better understanding of the tools available to them, be it Google Classroom or Google Meets or whatever methods they're using. But still not to actually have interaction with your teachers in the classroom environment will be absolutely bizarre for both the students and the teachers.
Yeah. Now, when you do your classes, is it like this? I mean, can they see you and can you see them?
Yeah. So typically I set it up so that they can see me, and I record and I post the class on Google Classroom so that if somebody misses it, they can go and check it out. So you got to remember that some of these kids are either babysitting, watching younger kids. Some of them are working, and some of the kids that are working are the only income coming into the house at this point because of layoff. So you got to be real careful where you're marching and how hard you're rolling, because there are a lot of factors in play. So I try and make it as easy as possible for them to submit work. I had one gentleman whose Wi-Fi kept blowing out. We finally had him take pictures with his phone and text me his essays, because he was wasting, or don't want to say wasting, he was using more time trying to upload them, and his machine or his Wi-Fi couldn't handle it. I was finally like, just take pictures of them and send them to me.
Yeah.
Good, He had them, and I could hear the frustration. And I said, Joey, just take a picture of them and send it to me. So they came through as a picture, and we're all good. So, we're trying to get creative in what we can do to help them succeed.
Yeah, I was wondering, because that's got to be tough on you guys, the teachers. I'm thinking it must be tough on you if you have to plan for like both ways next fall.
Yeah.
It's almost like they should give you a studio and record you doing your class.
Correct.
But I guess I think for you, I think the hardest. I mean, what do you do about the lab? I mean, how do these kids, you know?
So I'm talking right now with my techs about what we're going to do different, right? So normally when the seniors come in, we'll do group exercises and move them in and out of the lab and do a lot of group trainings before we actually give them their systems to work on. Next year, we're going to go, I believe, on a very abbreviated schedule and get these kids handling their animals, their fish right away. And so that they have as much lab experience as possible in case we have to leave. So one of the nice things about all the hands-on applications that we do is it makes the learning that we do real. So when we talk about recirculating aquaculture systems that are 4,000 liters, and the pumps and all the filters and things that run them, as well as the animals that are in them, if the kids have actually touched them and seen them and begun to work with them, it gives anything you talk about that much more reality to them, and it lets them see how what you're talking about is the real deal and is applied. So our hope is to start them off really very rapidly next year, more so than we've ever done before, get them in, get them immersed, and then try and keep that going for as long as we can in case we have to back out.
What will happen to your to the fish and your animals now? I mean, will you dump them or will you pull them out before the year starts again?
No, I have some pieces of coral that you couldn't get anymore. I have, for instance, I have a brain coral that Yale University donated to me in 2004. So do the math on that. And so that piece of coral alone is probably worth $3,000 to $4,000.
Wow.
So as I've said a couple times already, I have a couple of techs that are in the building, and although it stretches them really thin, we can do things like we can pare things down as much as we can and limit what they have to do. But for instance, when the techs took over at the lobster hatchery, normally I would have from the hatch, we would have 3,000 to 4,000 baby lobsters in what they call the fourth instar. They look like little tiny lobsters. But it takes a lot of hands to do that. So at this point, this year's hatch, she's only carrying about 375 animals.
Okay.
So it has had effects on us. The seahorses that we have a couple of pairs of seahorses that are giving us babies, where before we always had counts, so we knew which generation was which generation. Now they're all blended, and we're keeping them alive, but we're just keeping them alive. So
right.
a lot of the data that we normally take is being just put to the side, and we're just doing what we need to do husbandry-wise to keep the animals alive.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff isn't really replaceable very easily, so we're trying to hold our stock.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's just an added problem for you, on top of everything else, And this summer, I mean, you probably won't be doing any kind of summer school or anything like that, right?
That remains to be seen. Actually, if they're able to bring them back, we've had meetings this last week about actually putting a very strong summer school in to help the kids that had problems this spring make up the credits that they've missed.
Oh, okay.
So a lot is going to depend on whether we're allowed to come back in or not. As far as the lab goes, we run 24/7, 365.
Yeah. Yep. So is when you give out assignments and stuff, they have due dates that they're due by, or are you just accepting them as they come in?
So I put a due date on them, but I'm accepting them as I come in, right?
Right.
So normally I would never take an essay, a snapshot of an essay on somebody's phone, but
right.
What are you going to do? The kid's doing his best. So,
right.
I'm not going to penalize him because his Wi-Fi won't take what he's got to do. So So yeah, we're trying to um, you know, not take personally stuff coming in late. It's just one of those things that's happening, right? So if
Right.
it's taking the time to do it and putting some effort into it, great. We don't know. The state did not tell us whether we would pass fail for the fourth quarter. They left it up to the district, and New Haven has not yet decided how grades will be put in for the fourth quarter. So
Yeah.
we're kind of waiting to hear that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. That was I've just been very curious about it. I know it must be a hard, tough thing. And like I said, you knew me in high school. I don't know how I would. I probably would have been just washing dishes earlier.
Right.
I can't see how I'd get through it, but it's great to see everybody rise to the challenge. I know it's been very, very challenging for you, and
Yep.
I hope that people appreciate, how hard it is for the teachers and
It's much more
educators.
difficult than walking into your classroom and teaching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can imagine that. Well, that's all we got time for today. I got a couple little announcements before we get off. I want to say, thank you for tuning in to Books and Beyond, and I want to thank John Roy, my guest, once again for coming by. A couple quick announcements. We have a CAPA meeting the third Monday of this month. It's going to be a Zoom meeting. If you go to the Southeastern Connecticut chapter of Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association on Facebook, the link should be on there. I'm not sure exactly about the speaker or the agenda yet. We'll see, but hope you join in. If you're a member or just want to see what we're about, click on and join in and check us out. That's it for now, and thank you very much. This has been Books and Beyond with Jimmy Bennett.